Okay, so we're going to get started. It's 4 o'clock. Other people, as they arrive, can get caught up. My name is Dan Jones, and this is our seminar on branding. And I would like to introduce Shelly Webster. She works with me on the branding side of my business. And hang on a second, we're admitting somebody else. Okay. And so, Shelley, just say hi, and if you can tell us a little bit about your background and experience before we get started talking about branding.
Okay, I am a graphic designer. I've worked back when print was the thing in design, and then shifted over into 3D modeling and animation. Worked on games and military training, and now I'm a freelancer and back working on illustrations and logos and branding. And the common thread through all of that is to organize and make information understandable as quickly as possible. And as far as visuals go, a logo is like the smallest piece of visual to do that job, to identify your company, your service as quickly as possible.
Okay,
Go ahead.
that is good to hear. Okay, so you did work with the military down in Orlando, if I recall correctly, where I had
Yep.
lived, and you and I came in contact with each other through our mutual friend Heather, who I'd gone to school with back in the day, many eons ago, and she was in Orlando around the same time. I don't think she was working for the military though. She was working for game designer, right? Is that
She may have shifted over to commercial e-learning, but I met her at my first military training job, and this was the game company was game industry was going through a huge problem. And as I was finishing up a project and calling around to get my next job, the people that I was speaking to were in fear for their own jobs being lost.
right?
And I remember having the thought, okay, I'll go into this industry and they're used to chaos. Oh, even a war is a good thing. It should be stable. No,
No.
it's not stable. And it was like Heather and I were the only two women that were doing something more complex than the secretary or technical at all. And we were also the only two people who had worked in games or commercial industry at all. All of the other people on the team were former military or retired military people who had picked this up as their next career. And
Right.
it was really like stepping into a different world culturally.
Oh yeah, it is a different world. It is a different world. Okay, so I was told that more people would be coming. Maybe they'll come in afterwards. So if not, though, this is going to be posted on YouTube for everybody in the group and beyond. So I guess I'll just start out, Jason, since it's, oh, hang on a second, we got another person coming in. Um, let's just start out with the question that I want to ask, and you can unmute your microphones to give this answer. But when you hear the word branding, what's the first thing that comes to your mind for the participants? Does anybody want to participate with that answer? And I'll say it again just in case Jeff, kind of got lost there. When you hear the word branding, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Uh, the first thing that comes to my mind is a company's identity. Company identity and marketing is what comes to mind.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Jeff? Anything?
Sorry, I just logged on. I
Okay.
had to update my Zoom. It's been a while.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you hear the word branding, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
I think probably a customer's impression of the company.
Okay. Okay. So if you guys can go back, just mute your microphones, please. And Shelley, you want to kind of tell them where they're at there? What's their impression?
So
How they
the
aligned with branding?
Yeah, that's both correct. To the degree that companies will protect all of their identity materials, their logos, the fonts they use, the typefaces, the colors, and I just found out the sounds that, that little Netflix bum that it's protected.
Right.
They work
And so is the
so
Law and Order bump.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
That's
They
that's
they
that's
work
protected.
diligently to make sure that the materials that associate their customers with their service are protected.
Right.
Um, and yeah, it's an interesting field,
So
but the choices that a company makes about colors, um, how the logo looks and so forth are going to communicate the mood and theme of the business, and something about the services that they provide.
Jeff, if
Uh,
you can turn off your camera, please, because this ends up going on YouTube later, so it keeps it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Shelly. I'm sorry.
all of those things are the basis of your brand identity. So when you create a logo, it's really a tool. It's a little workhorse. It goes on your truck. It goes on your shirts, your hats, your your forms that you send to invoice people. Um, all of it. Uh, Once that's made, if it's made well, you can repurpose it easily, and it's a nice, clean, recognizable mark that identifies you very quickly.
Yep.
If you have a website, business website, people make up their mind whether they're going to continue to engage with your web page and even read whatever's there in the first 10 to 15 seconds.
Yes, I've definitely seen that in a lot of companies. So, do you think that branding is just important in a national level, or is it important in a local level? And I know what the answer is, but I would like you to kind of expand on that, and we can go into some examples.
It's both. You do want to do some work to make sure that your business name and what your logo looks like is unique and distinct from other people doing the same kind of work that you do. Um, because your market will hopefully get wider as you get bigger. Um, I have a client he started out in COVID with a pizza truck. Well, now that COVID's over, his business has grown. He relocated from one state to another, and he is now franchising his business. So some favorite customers of his have bought the original truck. He's moving into a restaurant. So those materials that I built for him for the truck, they've been altered a little bit to distinguish the truck from the restaurant, but they're still in use
Right,
for both.
right.
And he had to do another search in this new market to make sure that he wasn't duplicating what somebody else had as their business name and so forth.
Right. So let's pause on that for a second, the search, because you've done work with me for different companies that, like were startups and stuff. And part of the logo design when we were doing that was the requirement for us to search and make sure that you weren't taking that proprietary information from somebody. Um, so when you're branding, just to make this point to everybody, you may think that you can just design whatever and it's not going to be a problem. However, my attorney, who I speak with frequently, and he's worked with Shelly and I on some of the projects, was just now having to deal with a company in Colorado who was suing a company in Louisiana because their logo looked very much like theirs, and they felt that it was, a trade issue, and the Colorado company actually succeeded. So when you create a logo and you don't bother to check whether or not other people are doing something, or you're kind of using their mix of colors and certain imagery, you can end up running afoul of a lawsuit, and now you've branded everything. Now you got to stop and and rebrand everything. So you do want to be careful as you're branding to make sure, even if you're a small company, that you're not running afoul of some other company who's already protected their stuff. Do you have anything to add to that, Shelley, or?
I normally will check as much as I can, just because I don't want my customers to go through something like that. But really, having a patent and trademark lawyer look at things is best.
Yep.
Um,
So
because
I want to get into, getting started on, you've already studied a little bit, but branding your business. This is the title for everybody. Okay. We want to stand out. We want to get noticed. We want you to win more customers. And um, what, why does the branding matter? We've got here perception, trust, and credibility. And can you touch on those a little bit for everybody, a little bit more, Shelley? You've kind of briefly touched on it, but
well, um, for instance, the shoe that you've got going on there, if there's branding, I don't see it.
right.
Um,
Well, let's get the audience to participate here for a second. Name that brand. Anybody can just jump on if you want to. Can anybody?
Nike, Jordan.
Nike.
Air Jordans, right? Exactly. I mean, it just right here, just that point right there, right? It's just so recognizable. Your brand does not need to be nationwide for people to recognize it. And how can I say that? Because I dealt in Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County, and when people saw my trucks, they knew who I was. Okay. They knew my company. I didn't have an abundance of them, right? I had 6 crews that was working for me, but everything was branded, all the shirts, everything like that. People knew, who they were dealing with, as soon as one of my trucks rode up to their property. Okay, because I had a reputation and it was tied to my website and it was tied to my Facebook page and it was tied to my trucks and my shirts and Orange, Osceola, and Seminole is not a very big area in the grand scheme of the country, but to be noticeable in an area of a couple of million people is that's helpful. Okay. No matter how big or small your market is, to set yourself apart and be able to tell your story. It's, the perception that people had, um, the trust, right? I was trusted. The 3 key points of my business that was on everything was quality, reliability, knowledge, right? And people recognized that. They knew they were getting quality work. They knew that we were reliable. If it was raining, people would tell me, "Don't worry about it. I know when you'll get here because you're reliable." I built that and baked that into my brand, quality, reliability, knowledge. I had it on everything with the logo. So, you know, I just want to put that out there. But if you want to go on, Shelley, I talk too much.
no, it's fine. It's fine. You are the expert in this field, so go for it. Um, so, uh, having a brand says other things to your customer as well. You're a professional. Your work is protected. You're not a fly-by-night dude in a plain van uh, with no protection if someone gets hurt on site or anything like that. It doesn't ensure, a brand doesn't ensure that you're doing business properly, but it does elevate you above the people that are just fly-by-night businesses.
The guy, like I say, right, the guy with the plunger in the back of his truck doing it all, right? And Shelley's bringing this point out, but I really want to hone in on it. If you have branded your business, people are going to think, well, this person has their crap together. What does that imply to them? It implies to them that you've got your insurance, whatever licensing is required. Like in Orange County, all I needed was an occupational license. I didn't need any other license because I stayed away from pesticides. I never wanted to deal with the storage of any of that, right? My irrigation, I did have, the licensing for that, but that was much later on. Everything else, but it was implied that I had all that stuff just because I was organized enough to have a logo and to have everything looking very much uniform across the company. My invoices look the same from month to month, and they look the same as the estimates, and they kind of matched what the website was, and the colors on my Facebook page, and the colors of the uniforms that the guys were wearing, okay, and girls. So by branding that, people just automatically, you've elevated yourself, one step higher. So we do want to encourage you to work on branding because branding is telling who you are and marketing is how you're telling people, right? So we've covered marketing.
Yep.
Okay, and we will continue to cover marketing because it is a sore point for a lot of people in the group, according to the poll that I had done a couple weeks ago. It's an area that people are really concerned about how to grow their business. So we will continue on with that, but branding is an integral part of that. So today we want to continue talking about telling the story of who you are. Okay. So, what's one thing, and some people have answered this, but I would like to hear some answers. If you guys can tell me, what's one thing that you wish people knew about your business before they even contacted you? I'll go through. So, Catalina, you want to go first? Can you unmute and maybe tell me something you wish people knew about your business?
Hello, everyone.
Hey. Yeah.
Um, well, as we spoke, I just started, so I'm figuring out all the branding part yet and getting there step by step. Um, yeah,
You're not sure yet. Okay.
no,
That's fine.
I was also offering interior design and landscaping design since I am an architect,
Right.
but I figured that the name that I chose, that it's called Wonder Walls, it doesn't make any sense at the time of offering a landscaping service. So right now I'm thinking about the rebranding and thinking about another name too. So I'm
Okay.
struggling with that right now. So this
Well,
class
that's fine. When we
can
get a little
help.
further into this, there's going to be some questions that you can ask, right? And you can write down and to try and get to the brand that you want, to even get to the name of the company, because it's perfectly fine if you haven't spent thousands upon thousands of dollars, to even think about, changing the name of your company, if you think something would resonate better with your people and then start your branding there. How about Jason? Jason, can you tell me? Uh,
Yeah, I guess something I would want people to know, first hand thing off the bat is that I provide quality service, and I go above and beyond,
right.
and I don't cut corners compared to, some other companies.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I would just kind of like echo that. Just basically, I've heard from some feedback from previous customers where they will contact people and then schedule them to do something and they won't even show up.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
basically, that's a lot of frustration that I'm getting from some of the customers that I got last year.
Right.
So basically, just to reassure them that dependability, highest quality,
Yeah.
that's
So
what I would say.
some of you may have already experienced this. Jeff is hitting on something that is endemic to the field. I would get this complaint quite frequently from people when I would show up to do an estimate. Oh, thank God you showed up. I've called X number of companies. And people either don't answer the phone or they tell me that, that they're going to come out and they don't, or they come out and look at it and then never get me an estimate.
Hmm.
I had reliability as one of the three things in my business: quality, reliability, knowledge. And so reliability to me meant answering the phone. It meant showing up. It meant sending them the proposal. Or if I wasn't interested, saying, this isn't something that's in my wheelhouse that I can help you with. But being reliable enough to say, I do know this company, right? because you will see this quite frequently. There's the guy with the plunger in the back. He just decides, he's going to do however many jobs he can in a day, and he doesn't care whether or not he gets back to anybody because he thinks that, he can just keep on, people will keep calling, right? That's the mindset that some people have.
I had a customer that said, I showed up and I was doing some landscaping work, and they said, "Oh, something's digging in my lawn. I think it might be like a skunk or a deer or something. And
Right.
can you do something about that?" And I said, "No, I can't do that, but I can recommend somebody else for you."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's a very good way to actually build more business for yourself. It gives you credibility. We had touched on this, and when I was talking to Phil Risher a couple of weeks ago, that if you become the person that people know that they can ask for a referral for something else, they're always going to remember you. So
Hmm.
when they need the thing that you offer, you are going to be the person that they call, right? And so that can actually be part of your brand also, right? It's part of the reliability and knowledgeable and just a stand-up person, right? We used to say stand-up guy, but there are more and more women getting into this field now. So now I will say stand-up person. Somebody on here it's just on the iPhone. I don't know. I don't have any name here, but if you want to unmute and just let us know what one thing you wish people knew about you, your business. Here,
Oh, that might be me. Sorry.
yeah.
We similar sentiment. We have a done right promise, so we back up the quality of our work. Would follow up if the customer's unhappy and make sure that if there's something they're not happy with or less than thrilled about, that we take care of that right away.
Okay. Well, that's good. So what do you think about those answers, Shelley? You got anything you want to expand on or anything that jumps out at you with those?
Nope, those are all excellent uh, considerations. Uh, there are visual ways of highlighting one or another. There are different moods that you can have with a logo, whether it's like a laid back and easygoing casual or, very corporate looking.
Right.
There's just a wide array of, you know, what are you going to be comfortable having tell your customers who you are at a first glance.
Right.
Um,
Yep. Okay, we're going to go back to sharing the screen here for a minute. And I want to take a look at two major landscaping companies. Okay. Down here in the lower left-hand side, we've got Brightview. And if we jump over here for a minute and take a look at their website. So if you notice, their logo color is blue and yellowish green, is what I would call it. Their website's themed the same way. And part of, determining what your logo and what your brand is picking colors that convey, um, the either the emotion or the story that you're trying to tell. Is there anything that jumps out at you about this page here, Shelley, that would be important to them to understand?
they are bright, uh, clean colors. The photographs are all high quality photographs. Um, the font they chose is clean and simple. The logo itself is clean and simple, not filled with tiny little details and swirly things and stuff like that. So, and what they're showing in their photos are larger venues. So it becomes pretty clear that they're not landscaping little neighborhood houses. They're doing large.
Brightview is one of the larger commercial, uh, you know, businesses in the country, landscaping businesses. So we'll come over here though, and we'll look at one that's got a little bit of a different appearance to it. Oh, goodness gracious, why does it do this to me? Hang on a second. Okay. And this is Big Sky Landscaping. So they're not quite as big as Brightview. The thing is, they have uh, a color theme that carries through from their logo just the same as what Brightview did. Um, Clean pictures also, clean lines. What do you,
It's interesting that it says Greater Portland Metro because looking at those colors and the big sun and the tree they chose, I thought they would be out west,
right? Well, they are out west, but you mean like more
more
Montana, Wyoming,
southwest. Yeah.
or Southwest, or yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it's definitely an interesting story that you're wondering exactly what they're telling here, right? Doesn't quite fit in with the market that they have,
Hmm.
but
It's not bad,
it's not
but
bad.
it's not
Right.
telling the, you know, unless they are in both places. I don't know.
No, they're not. They're in the Northwest. So that's the interesting thing about them, right? Big Sky to me, when I first, had heard about the company, I thought that they were out in Montana, Wyoming, and that they were doing landscaping in the ever-growing, populaces out there. Um, and then, when you look at the picture here of the tree, then you start to think the desert, and then all of a sudden, it turns out that they're in the Northwest. So it's definitely not the most clear and concise uh, story that they could be telling. Okay, so coming back here. So your brand is your story, and people connect with values, mission, and authenticity. So I touch on this regularly in a lot of my blogs that I write, and I have touched on this a little bit in marketing. I will be going into it some more. I've talked about it also when you are looking to get your ideal employees. You want to have an ideal client whose values align with your business, or they're really not going to want to deal with you. It's the same thing when you're looking for employees. If you want to build a team of people that want to go in the same direction as you, they don't have to have all your values, but they should share a number of your values. So the values of your organization is part of your brand. Okay, again, for me, the quality, reliability, and knowledge. That even comes down to the work that I do now. I give quality advice. I do quality work for people. I'm reliable. If I say I'm going to be someplace, I'm someplace. And I'm knowledgeable. And knowledgeable doesn't mean that I know it all. It means I know where to find the answers. Okay, that's my brand. That is part of my brand. What is part of your brand? We've heard a little bit from you guys. The one thing that you want people to know about your business, that's part of it's a value thing. Everybody gave something that had to do with values. Okay. But the values, the mission, and the authenticity. People will know if you're fake, right? So you want your brand to to come across as authentic as you are as a person. You have more for that, Shelley?
I agree with that. Um, and I guess that touches back in with the consistency of your marketing materials relating to each other. And then those materials also tie into, your corporate story, uh, as as mentioned earlier.
Right.
Um, yeah, you can have a lot of fun with branding. Um, it's wide open. It can go from, business cards to trade shows to, just all kinds of things.
Yep.
Uh, Brand your tools, you know, they're
Well,
just
right.
more.
So when we were talking a little earlier about, does brand matter on the local? I'd ask anybody here if you saw a uh, uh, a beaver on a giant round sign as you're driving down the highway. Um, what do you think it is? And I guarantee you that some of you would go Bucky's, but Bucky's for years and years and years was a gas station only in Texas. They're only now starting to go out of there. But if you've ever been to Texas and then you go all the way back home, like up here to Maryland or maybe Maine or out to California, and you just see that symbol, you automatically know it's Buc-ee's. So the brand of a company is not required to be national. It's required to be tied to the thing, right? And when you think of Buc-ee's, what do you think? Massive gas station that you can get lost in buying t-shirts and tchotchkes, with all sorts of stuff on it, right? That's, it's just you associate it with that. So you want to start creating a brand so that people are associating with Catalina or with Jeff or with Jason, that they automatically think of the experience that they're going to have with you. Okay. So the key elements of your strong brand story, and these are questions that Shelly, and she has a few more that she does ask, but when she's helping people on this, or when Cheryl is helping people, they ask who you are, what's your origin story, the origin story of your business or you, why did you start? What do you do? What's your unique value and service? And you guys that are starting out, you do not want to be everything to everybody. You want to have 1 to 2 core offerings that you're giving to people. So when you're marketing, it's hitting with the right people, the things that you're doing. Okay. So your unique value and service and, what's unique about the way maybe like with my lawn maintenance, there was a certain way that I did things. Okay. With my landscaping, much of the same things were done. There was the way that we pulled up to properties, the ways that we parked, that were different than a lot of other companies, the ways that we maintain properties. They were unique to my business. Okay. Until people started copying me, then they weren't so unique. But but the things that I started doing were unique at the time that I started doing them. It became part of my brand. Who do you serve? That's your ideal customer. That doesn't mean everybody that you serve, but who is it that you're really shooting for? And then why it matters. What's your mission? What impact do you hope to make? Okay. And so what we are going to do for a moment is we are going to pause and we are going to read into one of the responses that we had gotten from several people had put in these responses, and we had the opportunity to look at them. But we're going to talk just a little bit about the brand um, for Laird Construction, which is a construction and landscape company. Okay, and when we asked him his origin story, why did you start? He said that he had started Laird's Construction because he wanted to build something real, something that just wasn't about making money, but about doing things the right way. He'd lost both of his parents at a young age, and it forced him to push forward without much of a safety net, and that shaped how he sees the world. He's always believed in hard work, but he also learned the importance of having people you can rely on. And so the landscaping and the property management, they weren't just business choices for him, but they were about creating something lasting, something that he could be proud of. And he saw too many companies cutting corners, overcharging, or just not caring about the work that they put their name on, and he wanted to be different. He goes on a little bit further. This was a great answer. I mean, it just really jumped out at me. It landed with me. Several of you others gave really good stories, and we will be talking about with one of the other people here in just a little bit. But that was his "Who are you?" Right? His origin story, his Peter Parker or Bruce Wayne to Spider-Man and Batman. What made him who he is? Okay. His unique value is that he specializes in landscaping and property manager, but what really sets him apart is how he does it. They don't just cut the grass or clean the gutters. They take a tailored approach to every property, ensuring it gets exactly what it needs, no more, no less. And then he goes on to describe some of the plans that he has. Okay. Who he serves? Homeowners and property owners who want more than just the basic upkeep. Can you see how ideal, how technical this answer starts to get? They want a landscaping and property management team that actually cares. Our ideal customers value quality, reliability, and a team that knows what they're doing. Okay. I really want to emphasize to everybody that's watching this that that is a really good ideal customer answer. He knows who he wants. Okay. He doesn't want, just anybody. He wants people that, are not, that want landscaping and property management, and that those people care, and that those people want quality and reliability. Now, he could have gone in and talked about, like what income level they're at or so on and so forth. But just by this answer, the fact that he wants landscaping and property management already removes and weeds out so many tire kickers. Okay. So this is a really great answer. Okay. Why it matters, his mission and impact. We believe that a well-maintained property isn't just about looks, it's about pride, longevity, and value. A clean, well-kept landscape isn't just something nice to have. It protects your investment, enhances curb appeal, and creates a space you're proud to call yours. Our mission is simple: to deliver reliable, high-quality landscaping and property management with integrity and purpose. And he goes on even further. But again, this is a really good mission statement about the impact also that he wants to make with his people. Now, Shelly, if you were sitting down and you were talking to Mr. Laird about construction, what other questions might you have for him? I wish that he was able to make this. He'd said he might get held up on something, but what other questions, or where does this lead you towards with his branding? Anything that jumps out at you?
Uh, I'd ask him if he ever intended to go into larger corporate type of situations,
Okay.
which it sounds like from this that he doesn't.
Okay.
But how does he see, in 10 years, what does he want that business to look like? Um, what has he seen? What kind of advertising for other businesses has he seen that appeals to him?
Okay.
Not that we want to copy anything, but it it is a shortcut to knowing what catches his attention,
Right.
what
What
he finds
resonates with
appealing.
people. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And that's
Those
I'm
those
gonna
sorts of
encourage
things.
everybody here to spend the next week, and it doesn't even need to be like landscaping, but advertising or logos or imagery or anything that you see that jumps out at you. Start making some notes. What jumped out at you? How did it make you feel? Right? Because that's going to allow you to start to pick a little bit more clearly, like what you would feel proud of, right? Because you got to remember that brand is now going to become part of your business. And if you are a business owner like I've been, that business is your baby. It's like, I have 5 kids, and this becomes like kid number 6. Okay. And it's the one
Mhm.
you actually spend a lot of time with. So you want that logo to really kind of resonate, right? Okay. Um, if a customer introduced your business to a friend, what would you want them to say in one sentence? I'm not going to go one through one. Anybody just wants to jump in and give their answers, or you can write it in the chat and we can look at them there. But does anybody want to speak out? I'll ask the question again. If a customer introduced your business to one of their friends, what would you want them to say in one sentence? Nobody? Okay. It's something to
I
ponder.
guess I'll share.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. What would you like?
Uh, so yeah, I put a different answer when I wrote it down yesterday, and the way I answered the questions was more on a personal level.
Right?
Um, but I guess after hearing, everything you guys have talked about so far, I would want basically one of my clients to say that you should use my lawn guy. They're very reliable, very dependent. They do high quality work, and they make me happy, and they're very easy to communicate with.
Okay.
Yep.
Those
Those
are
are all
good
good.
things. Those are good things. Yeah. The communication, man, that's like so important. It really is. Anybody else before we move on? No? Okay. So we'll jump back onto the screen here for a minute, and we are going to uh come back down to okay, so we've talked about that. Beyond the story, bringing it to life. Logos, colors, messaging, and consistency need to be present across all the materials. That's from your shirts to your yard signs, This is just a simple company that does what is it when they cook for you and bring it to your house? Catering. Thank you. Yeah. So this is just uh, how they've made sure that their logo was on everything. But you want to have it on your business cards, your door hangers, your shirts. If you have hats for your crew, I would consider getting logos on them. And it doesn't necessarily need to be uh, the full part of the logo. It could just be a smaller part of it on the hat since they're wearing the shirts. But yard signs and truck magnets and your website and your social presence, you want to get that logo and the colors, right? Whatever the colors are that you decide, you want to kind of work them in there. Did you want to add to that, Shelley? Because I
That's
really do
pretty,
want to move to Jason's thing.
yeah, that's pretty complete.
Okay.
I would just say technically there's different kinds of files of the same logo for different
Yes.
uses because it's
Yes.
printing is a different process than getting magnets and so forth.
Right.
So
Which
that's
we're
some of
going
the
to we're
behind the scenes work that goes into it.
Yep. So let's talk about AI, AI logos, the on the fly cheap logos that people make. When we did for the charcoal company that was starting up out of Nigeria, that
Hmm.
here, but they're shipping in from Nigeria, there was more that we needed to look at with the logo than just what was going on their bags, right? I mean, what goes on the bags is a different type logo. The logo is the same, but the way that it's put together for print purposes was entirely different than what would go on their invoices or their letterheads or their business cards
Right.
or their website. In other words, multiple renditions of that logo needed to be made so that they could look the same in the different mediums
Because it's
that
a
they'd be
different
used.
process of making those materials. And
Right,
it turns out you guys might run into this big heavy bags that you get charcoal in. Those presses are so old that you take your materials to a designer that works for that bag manufacturing company because each specific bag manufacturing machine is different.
right,
So someone has to sit there and know how to baby that one machine in such a way that you get what you want.
right. But
And I really thought we were beyond that, but no.
no, we're not. And but the thing is, that the logo that you go ahead and that you're able to generate out of AI may not very well work in paper printing. Or it will work, but it's going to have a different appearance or a different resolution than what's being used on the website or, on electronic invoices that are being sent. Am I getting that right
Similarly,
exactly?
yeah, so what happens is it's interesting because I took a couple nights ago and just started Googling this kind of logo or that kind of logo. And when you see enough of them on the AI sites, they're not very different from each other. You
Right,
start to see this shape over and over and over again, or that color over and over and over again.
right,
And it gets pretty easy to tell where a piece of a graphic came from. And you will end up on the sites that give you the choice paying more to buy a file that is useful for printing and so forth of that AI logo than you would if you had someone design exactly what you want.
right. And original
Yeah,
to be
that's
original and to
yeah.
speak to you,
And
exactly. Yeah.
the reason that it's the reason that AI is taken off like this is there's always going to be a certain part of the market where the thing that drives the decisions is how cheap is it.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, being cost conscious is important. But some things um, shouldn't die on the altar of the ledger book. The things that are long lasting of benefit to your company don't necessarily need to cost the most, but the decision for them should not be made on what's the cheapest result that I can get. Almost like buying a truck. You're not going to say, well, I'm going to go out and get the cheapest truck I can to operate my business, knowing that it probably will only last a year and a half versus, one that can last you 10 years, even if you're not going to use it the full 10. At least you don't have the service problems. And it's the same thing when you're branding your company. You definitely want to make sure that you are taking into consideration um, everything that is in there. So first impressions matter. Building trust and credibility with your clients. You want to be differentiated from the competitors, and Shelly just touched on that. Seeing the same like shape or symbol over and over and over again, you'll get lost in the noise with people. You want to build that long-term customer loyalty. You want to let people know that you're in this for the long haul. You're not going to jet out in a year or two or 3 months down the road from now. But it can strengthen word of mouth marketing. If somebody said, "Where's a place I can get fast food?" and I couldn't think of the name McDonald's, I could just go like, this with my hands. I don't know if anybody can see me since I got the share screen, but I can make an M symbol, and everybody will know where they're going to eat. For fast food, not necessarily the best. I'm not advocating it, but you know it, right? That word of mouth marketing. So, okay, let me figure out how to get to this file. So, Jason, you are welcome to turn on your screen if you want to, and turn on your audio because we want to talk about this, and I appreciate you giving us the permission to uh, to go ahead and look at this. And why, for the life of me? Okay. Hang on a second. Okay, so just give us a second, Jason, and I stopped sharing so I'm not driving you all up the wall with my
I
jumping
saw a
from
little
thing to
note
thing.
from Cheryl pop up, but I didn't see it long enough to read it.
Oh, was it a comment?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on a second. Cheryl, I'll get to you in just a second. Uh, okay. So I'm going to go. Okay, she says, she said, actually, the AI logos are stored images that you may see with someone else's logo. So they're not
That's
unique
true.
to your brand. Yep, that's very true. Okay, so we are going to come back to the share screen again. And okay, so Jason, you posted this on the group yesterday, and I think somewhere else too. And this was the logo that you had created for your company. Now, Cheryl and I took a look at it yesterday, shortly after you'd posted it, and after I'd said to you, we would talk about it, and you seemed open to it. And so, Shelly, okay, I get you too confused. It's like having kids. Um,
This would be a
so,
lot funnier if the group had met both of us.
right? Yeah. Um, So let's talk about the good and the bad, right? Because the first thing that you said to me was, "This isn't so bad. This is, there's some good things here."
Yeah,
So
I asked if the fellow on the mower looked like the owner of the company.
and so I pulled up your Facebook picture and looked at it and yeah, you got a pretty good representation of yourself there, Jason.
Yep.
Um, so that's good. That's a plus. Um, I do want to ask you, Jason. Are you in there's a subset of people in the landscaping industry that are into striping. Is that you? Are you somebody that likes to stripe?
I mean, I would say it just happens naturally as I cut the grass.
Right.
I don't necessarily make any special patterns or anything,
Okay.
but
But you
I
don't have a
guess
kit. You don't have a striping kit either.
No, I
Okay.
don't have a striping
Okay.
kit.
I was trying to figure out, because Shelly had asked me, she's like, "What's with the watermelon on the thing?" And I
No,
said,
I
I
actually
think he's shooting for the striped lawn.
I
Um,
did not know that that was like a special tool was required to do that. I
yeah.
thought it just happened when you went one direction and then the other direction
Well,
after next to it.
it does, right?
Yeah.
But you get it more pronounced if you have a striping kit.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I
and
tried
some
that on my
companies set
lawn.
themselves apart that way. So I wasn't sure if that was something that you were trying to do, then this was important to your message.
Yeah.
But if it's not, then maybe it's not. So okay, go ahead, Shelley. And
But
you can ask Jason
overall,
questions as you're going to.
visually, having the green mower on the green grass makes them blend together. When you think that this is going to be small to put on a business card, as well as big to put on the side of a truck or something like that. And I wasn't sure that you actually needed the house back there. So I simplified it. I basically took those two elements out and made the name of the business more prominent, because that's what you want them to remember, what you're called and how they can find you. Um, Things like the lawn and the house could be photographs on your site that show the kind of work that you've done and that you want and that you like to do, any sort of specialties like that. So
Now these are just something that she did just quickly.
these were just really fast. I basically cut apart the image that you had provided. Um, this could even be bigger. Um, One of the things working with it that I found was that this L shape would tuck in really nicely with that text. Um, but there was a point beyond which, if you made the guy on the I keep wanting to say motorcycle, the guy on the motor too
On the
big, then
mower.
that would be all that you saw.
Right.
So these are the same elements, they're just um, configured differently, and these would both be your logo. Um, you could
And
do
now you
things,
need to change your phone number to 1 2 3 4 5 6
yeah,
8
you
9,
could
right?
do things actually when you have a figure like this. You could do some fun things like, you do a snow service, so you put them in a Santa suit or something like that. I don't know if where you are is all four seasons or not. Things like that. There are things with, like, they'll call it a mascot, that you could do. I wouldn't change your entire logo, but for like a special, do it. You know, uh, but generally, you want the contact information and an idea of what your business is to be the thing that comes across.
Right. And that was
Makes sense.
and I don't know, Jason, if it's possible that when you designed this, you didn't want like a phone number on there or, what your thinking was, but you you probably, want to have some type of contact information in this when you start getting ready to release it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, it does. I really like the idea of you cutting out the lawn and the house and placing him to the side. I think that looks super professional compared to what I have currently. Obviously, I'm not well
This
versed.
one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really
But
like that.
you could use them both, because the shape of things might
But
mean one looks better than the other.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is a question because Shelley, ever the consummate professional, went and found that there are how many, Shelley? I got to pull up that
Like
email.
5 or 6, I think.
There's a whole. So, what does green edge mean to you? When you chose
Um,
that name, is there a story behind it or?
Not necessarily. It just is a catchy name. I really didn't. Honestly, it's just a catchy name that
Okay,
can be remembered easily.
yeah, because we got that. Okay, 757's Virginia Beach area,
Yeah.
Norfolk. and we got this green edge, and then we got
And
this
see,
one.
this is where a couple questions with the lawyer would be helpful.
Right.
There are
Yeah.
some considerations about, well, they're not in the same area of the country, so it's fine. And I'm not versed in that.
Right. And a lot of times, like, there was a company very closely named to mine, and they had two different letters different. So I really wasn't allowed to make a big stink because it was in the landscaping business. But had I grown outside the Central Florida region, my lawyer told me at that point, since I had the earlier name than them, I very well could have gone after them if I'd gone into North Florida. Then, I could have gone after them for the name. So I do want to encourage everybody, that you do just want to check like the name that you choose and make sure that you're not, running up against somebody, because the worst thing is to invest in branding and then have to turn around and reinvest it all again. Um, so you want to make sure that you're clear on that front. Um, but did you have any questions for Shelly with anything else with your logo?
Uh, so with the name, I mean, I got an LLC for it. So is it protected that way? Through, I mean, it's through the state of Georgia,
Yeah.
obviously.
Okay. So in the state of Georgia, you're fine then. If they
Right.
gave you that LLC, and it didn't run up against any problems with any other business, then you're fine. But the thing is now with Shelley having shown you some of the logos for other types of green edge, you want to make sure you're not using anything that kind of
That
lines up
resembles it.
with theirs or resembles it. I didn't see anything in there. Did you, Shelley?
Nope.
No. So I think, and I'm not a lawyer, right? But I think that you'd be fine. But everybody else, you want to do your due diligence. You want to check the name of your company and see if there's other companies out there. And when you're getting ready to design your logo, see if there's other companies that are using, things very close to yours where they'd end up being in competition with each other. Okay.
Then the other thing was something like this would be, where did the drawing and the text and so forth come from? Where did you find that?
So I hired a freelancer from Fiverr, obviously.
Okay.
Um, and I did pay for the extra exclusive copyright for it.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
you got it then.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Um, Now, I do have a question. I do have the source files for like Adobe Illustrator and the EPS source file.
Yeah.
If I wanted to take the idea you've put here, how would I go about doing that?
Do you want to, Dan, go through the
Well,
group?
yeah. Yeah, we can go. Yeah, go through the group. You can contact me. I'll get you. And Shelly's on the group, but I'd get you in touch with her.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
if you've got the source files, so you've had like half the work done already.
Right.
I don't have to redraw anything and so forth.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
yeah. I'll reach out to you after the meeting, Jason.
Okay. That
And we
sounds
can
good.
we can get things coordinated for you.
Cool.
So when we're looking at this, does anybody have any question? Anybody want to jump in and ask anything about what we've set up to so far?
I want to say something. Maybe it's helpful for
Okay.
those who are looking for create a logo and don't spend so much money. I use a lot Canva. It's a platform and it's for free, so you can just get in there and create. They have kind of these templates, but you can edit them and play with them and
So
get
yeah,
your own. Yeah.
the issue with Canva, though, unfortunately, is just like we were talking about, Catalina, that the same things that you're getting are the same things that everybody else is getting. If you're not worried about, having something that maybe other people would be using, then that is an option for you. But if you're
There's
looking to brand your company and set it apart,
That,
there's
yeah,
probably rights and licensing involved.
right.
So the pizza company that I did work for, they have all the files from me that will work on the internet or work to get printed and so forth. And they use Canva to create their social media posts with those files.
Right. Right.
I edit some. I create my own templates in there, so I am not using like a template for someone else, but you can use the shapes, the elements, the forms, the fonts, whatever you need, and you can create one from scratch. That's what I mean. So,
Okay.
and the quality was great. I print some personal like business cards and door hangers, and the quality was pretty good.
Right. Okay. So here, Shelly, is here's the pizza company that Shelly was talking about. And you know how they branded with their hats. You can't see it off to the side with their truck. But the same logos on their menu that's on the window. And then
They have a reverse of it where the text is black and the background's white too. Same logo.
right. And then this is another company called ComplyNet. And these are different versions. And you'll notice that the coloring, right, the theming is basically the same from item to item, and how they would work on different color shirts that they offer, and even, right, how they've taken that logo and just turned it into a design pattern on the shirt. Okay, so there are a wide variety once you've got all your stuff with your branding of ways that you can start to implement it. I'm not saying you guys are going to run out and start selling T-shirts for your business, but if if who knows, right? You become the most popular landscaper in Georgia, everybody might want, the green edge and start wearing that just like, they want the green egg in their backyard. You just don't know, right?
I have
Um,
a question.
yeah,
So the example you just showed here with the CompliNet, and then also earlier you were mentioning like McDonald's or Nike,
right.
or maybe even something like Target. They have like a very simplified, simple logo that's easy to, like see how she has on the bottom of her shirt that
Hmm.
repeat pattern and stuff like that. That's her
Mhm.
look, that's their logo.
Yeah,
But like for Jason's Green Edge, I mean, his logo pretty much seems to be the guy on the zero turn, which is not a very simple, thing. Is that going to be easy to print on shirts and, print because it has like a lot of detail and stuff like that?
Yeah, you'd have to like test it and see. Sometimes if it's going to be printed small, you take out some of the detail so that you know that the important stuff is going to last.
Mm.
Um, there are a lot of logos that have a figure in them, but they're a silhouette, so that they're simpler. Um, there are ways to make sure that that will work.
right.
And I do have a quick question about that. So say I don't want to use the actual mascot on clothing attire. Maybe I just want to use the company name in
Yeah,
the same font. Is that recommended?
it just depends on what works for the situation that you're in. Like the text in the ComplyNet logos is distinct enough that on the sleeve it only has the name, but on the front it's got the logo itself and the name on the one shirt, and then the logos as a pattern on the other shirt. Um, those are nice to do when you've got a simple object, but every logo doesn't have to be a simple object. For this business, which was software compliance, it makes sense for it to be really simple and corporate looking, and that.
Right. And I'm not sure who was asking that question because I couldn't see on the speaker, but the other thing that I would point out is, that um this may not exactly be. I know from experience, right? Because I had a very similar tree in my logo. Not easy to embroider. Screen printing wasn't a problem. Screen
Yeah.
printing for what Jason's doing, not a problem. The embroidery, yeah, that might be a little bit of a challenge. Or at the very least, you might lose some of the coloring on the person on the mower. So there is that consideration when you're doing it also. Do you do you happen to have, can we show The Phoenix or not? No, I
Yeah.
don't know if I have.
I was just thinking I did some patches for a missile system that were pretty detailed.
Right.
Um,
Okay. In the meanwhile, does
got
anybody else
this.
have any questions? Because we are going over time here, so I want to get this wrapped up. Okay. I'm gonna just bring this back to the share screen because we are going to go ahead and get wrapped up here. Um, the
Okay, I've got the logo up.
You do? Can you share
Yeah.
your screen? You know how to do that?
Yes, I need to get back to that interface.
Yeah, you can share that screen.
Okay, you should
Okay.
be seeing orange
Yep.
with the
Okay.
bird.
Right.
So this is a charcoal company, but it's named Eco Pure, and the challenge here was this is a company selling charcoal which you burn, which is not great for the environment, but the way that they get the charcoal is less damaging, as the owner put it to me, than
More traditional method.
traditional mining. So what it became, and part of this has to do with her personal story. She was a widow and she's starting this new business to sort of get her life going fresh. So we chose a phoenix, which is a bird that goes through a life cycle that involves a flame, a fire that it becomes born again out of, born new.
Right.
And then this is, so you can see here, her print color is this darker red, but the internet has a smaller range of colors to deal with. So this lighter one is for her web use. These are various ways that she can use that logo. And I normally will give a person color and black and white because you might be printing it on glass and you want, it to really stand out. So you make it black,
Right.
these kinds of things.
Yep.
And then this is a list of all the files that were made. So she knows what she's looking for when she hands it to the printer. These are what it looks like in different colors. We were still sort of choosing what color she liked. Do you want to emphasize the ecology of it? Then maybe it's green.
Right.
Do you
And
want,
just because the point I really want to make here is the client that was working with us is from Nigeria, lives in the United States, wanted to do this. The phoenix that we used is also, Shelley was able to create a cross between a phoenix and a very similar mythological creature in Nigerian culture that almost does the same exact thing. So the phoenix looks a little bit different than a phoenix and crosses over into that mythological, which for the life of me, I cannot remember right now the name
yeah,
of
it's
it.
an
But
old story. So it's
right,
in a lot
it
of
it
different
is.
countries.
But the point being that this tied in with our client's story about a rebirth in her life, right? She too was having a rebirth in her life, and this business was part of that. So that's the story we were trying to tell. And then she's able to do it with something that's called branded storytelling, right? That when she sits down and she talks to people, she's able to talk about how her life is being reborn, and then also how this business is being born, in the ashes of her previous life. She'd lost her husband, all these other changes. So, branded storytelling is something else I encourage you all to look up and that we can talk about in the group, especially for some of the stories. Jason, has a really good story about learning from the mistakes of his youth and changing the outcome of his life and making the decisions using his experiences. I think that that's a wonderful story that can resonate with a lot of people, and really help to grow the success of his business. Um, so I'm just going to do a quick soft sell here. One of the services that we do provide is branding and growth for your business. In the comments section, I just put a link to it. If you are interested, go ahead and just fill out the information, and we'll get in touch with you to talk about the branding. I will touch on this a little bit more, in the group occasionally, just, of different things with branding. But before we wrap up, I want to see, is there any questions that anybody has before we go?
I have a
I
quick
do
question.
have, oh, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Maybe it's not so quick, but maybe you can just kind of point me in the right direction. But so I'm basically wondering, I want to keep my business, my company name short and succinct as possible, right? So, and clean. So to keep that kind of idea about like how you would have your logo as clean as possible. But I don't know if I should relate it to my name. Like I see so many landscaping companies, it's like so and so's landscaping, or if I should relate it to my location where I am. So like, should I make it like Love's Lawn Care and Landscaping, or should I make it something related to where I am, which is Louisville, Kentucky? So make it something to do with the local culture or whatever. You know what I mean? But I think Love's Lawn Care and Landscaping is too long. So I'm thinking about condensing it or making something that's like Kentucky Derby related, like Superfecta Landscaping or something
Well,
like that.
Well, you
So,
have like a tagline right there, love your lawn.
Yeah, and that's also another thing, like you guys were talking about earlier about similarity with other companies. There's also a company, like I think it's a nationwide thing that's like an Angie's List for lawn care, and it's called Love, like Lawn Love,
Hmm.
which
okay.
could be
Right.
problematic, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you, why would you want to tie yourself to geography? Um, have you determined that you'll never want to expand beyond the market you're in right now?
No, not necessarily. I just thought that, new customers that I was going to approach might be able to relate with something, that's
So,
like bluegrass landscaping or bluegrass,
right.
whatever.
I would encourage you to sit down and answer some of the questions, like who, you want to service, what's going to set you apart. Answer some of those questions before you even come up with your name, because then maybe the name can speak to who you are serving, your ideal client, what sets you apart. So it doesn't need to be Love's Lawn and Landscaping. It doesn't need to be bluegrass. It could be, you know, quality, or a word similar to that that resonates with people, that speaks to what you're trying to provide for people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was also thinking something along those lines of like elite or premium or, something
Right.
something like that as well. I'm having a hard time kind of deciding which direction to go into.
Okay. Well, since you haven't named your company, and you haven't done any of your branding yet, and you haven't made a logo, really, Jeff, this is the best time to sit down and really start noodling through that. And I can send you some questions. There is in the group, how to find your ideal customer, right? And there's some questions in there that'll help you start determining your business, and help you pick out your vision and your values. You want to know that stuff, because then you're able to speak to people better, right? I can say to people, look, I really care about helping people to grow their business and then optimize it so that they can succeed. And and people believe that, right? Because I do. But I know that's what I want to do. I want to help people grow their business and then turn around and optimize it, because we've talked about, right, the two pillars of success. You're either growing or you're optimizing. It's either external or internal. And you're always doing both, but you can only focus on one, right? Well, that's what I offer to people. And if people say, what does Dan do? He helps people grow and optimize their business so that they can succeed. Okay. What does Jeff do? Well, he makes my lawn look so good and I never need to worry about it. It's like it's on autopilot. That would be a great message if that's what you're doing, right? A one sentence about Jeff's business. And then, you build your messaging around that. You build your brand around whatever that message is. Is that clear? Good.
Yeah, sorry, I had that on mute, but yeah, that does.
Okay.
I like that a
Okay.
lot.
Somebody else had a question?
Yeah, I had a question. So the reason I designed my logo the way I did is because I do operate solo currently. Now, as I grow
Ah,
in the future, I may want to redesign the logo. Is that recommended as I grow at a more professional level and start to employ people? Or would you recommend just keeping the same thing throughout the entire lifetime?
Uh,
hmm.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go first because I love to talk. Um, you can change your logo and your brand, but you always want to be careful how much you change it. And so we're back to McDonald's. McDonald's has always had the golden arches, but they've not always looked the same. Same thing with Burger King and Pepsi and Coke. But if you look at one from 50 years ago and you look at one from now, you pretty much know who they are because they haven't changed it that much. So if you haven't invested a lot of money and you're thinking that the solo guy might, be a problem or not give the message that you want it to give, then maybe you want to consider something now. Um, that said, there are a number of companies. I will give you one really good example. There are not only three people working at Pep Boys. Manny, Mo, and Jack are not the only three people fixing everybody's car. Okay. But when they started out, it was just Manny, Mo, and Jack. That's how they started out. So Jason, it doesn't you don't necessarily need to worry that there's more people than Jason working in your business. Okay, if this is the if you settle on this as part of your brand, and you're comfortable with it, well, then you are the face of your business. It's that simple.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
What
that
do you
makes a
think,
lot of sense.
Shelley?
Pardon me?
I said, what do you think?
Oh, I agree.
Okay,
I can also use the text separate from the figure for some uses. Maybe on a t-shirt, the text is across the chest and the figure is on the back or something like that.
right,
There's some flexibility.
right. And name your person, Jason, right? Is his name going to be Jason? You know,
Yeah, I guess so. That's my name, and
or or
it's basically me.
right, or Jay, or you can give him, some new name.
I keep
Okay, has
thinking of the
anybody else
little
got any
pizza
questions before
pizza
we
dude.
go? Anybody else? No? Okay, folks. So, you know where you can get me on the group. You can always message me if you have any questions. This will be posted to YouTube for anybody else. I do want to encourage you to work on your branding. I will have a short little questionnaire type thing that I'll post onto the group for everybody to kind of utilize. And then if you have any questions, you reach out to Shelly, Cheryl, and I, and we'd be more than happy to help you. Okay? Thank you, folks. Thank you, Shelly. I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.